and a very welcome to you and to yours, truly. What a gift to be here today. Wake Movement, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Can you come here and close the door to my office? Don't say a damn word. So we're going to be going through some events. We'll see how we feel about these things. Big news is Fuentes coming back onto Twitter, now known as X. Let's see what he has to say. The timing of it is interesting. Let's see what comes up. He's got 250,000 followers. No, that's not him. Hold on. I mean, I think what Nick Fuentes does is he gives them what they want. He gives the ADL what they want, ultimately, which is dumb anti-Semitism. They killed our God, is their gripe. First of all, they gave you your God. And I say I used to be in this camp for the majority of my life. I've only broken out of the Abrahamic matrix within the last 5 years. And it's a whole... Hey, can I get some water, please? A bottle of water, please? It is a whole situation. Losing your faith. And being lied to. Betrayal. Those types of things come up. But we have to be strong, my friends. We don't need these Jewish fairy tales to be the cornerstone of our worldview. And when you remove that, it's ultimately freeing. That takes by starting with a historical, critical approach to religious studies, namely the Abrahamic ones under the microscope right now. Then when we figure out that the character, especially Jesus, is not a historical character, but a fictional one, and then for what perhaps was he created for, and what did that creation accomplish, and what is it doing today? Giving us unwavering support for Israel. One thing Nick Fuentes does is he does not do that. To his credit, he is anti-Israel. And I am American first in some ways. In all ways. But the whole American first movement is wants a Christian country. Christian nationalism. And you know what they want to do to the pagans, the heathens who didn't accept Nick Fuentes' God of the Israelites? Death. And I think Nick Fuentes might even be a Hasidic, a Spaniard from the tribe. When they kicked him out of Spain, they went to a bunch of places, and all the places they went to screwed it up. They were like the original pirates, but not like the badass cool ones. They're the ones like financing the whole thing. Obviously, can you see one of them manning a pirate ship. They're like, oy vey, go buckle down the hatches. But the hatches, they weren't buckled down like they said they were going to be buckled down in the instructions. And I got 2 buckles for the price of 1. Let's see if anybody's tuned in. 1 view, 2 concurrent viewers. Yes. Tap in. Tell me what you think about, and then the timing of this during the whole Palestinian protests on campus. When Donald Trump just gave a whole speech about anti-Semitism. Let's watch it. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen. Calling for the death penalty for those who are against it, who commit anti-Semitic acts or whatever. Oh, come on, go back. Oh, that's from my account. Let's look for Liam. Let's see how I look to other people. What is my image that I'm putting out there? I'm not even following me. Sorry. Go follow me. I painted that beautiful idol. Blaspheming the Lord Jehovah of the Bible should be one of our greatest pastimes. Something that we really can sink our teeth into and enjoy. Oh man, lots of my posts that I post today aren't showing up. 696 followers, just 4 away from 7, the magical 700. Let's listen to this.
The Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on humanity. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an
Yeah, sure. Let's go to the Holocaust Remembrance HRI definition of anti-Semitism. IHRA. I wish we didn't have to talk about this stuff all the time, but it's important. This is how they're taking away our very first amendment. Not the second or the third or the fourth or even the fifth. The very first. Our freedom of speech, which is one of the things that separates us from many other countries, which is beautiful, but really, how true is it? The working definition of anti-Semitism. On May 26th. Oh, coming up May 26th, I have the Aquarian service and ceremony in person happening at a local yoga and kava place. I'm doing it. Do we need an alternative religion? I posit yes. For now. But then no. We all have our own individual ways to express our religiosity, our spirituality, but this shapes our worldview. So we have it controlling our politics, our government. And it's not just the money that they pump in through AIPAC and their lobbies that control our Congress and other seats. It is through psychological operations, warfare, spiritual, religious. Now, just because one comes to the conclusion, and you will, if you honestly look into it, that there was no historical Jesus, and that it's fiction. People say then, well, then what then? Now what? So that's what I'm working on. Because you don't have to become an atheist or even an agnostic to not be a worshiper of the Jewish Rabbi Jesus or Muhammad later. Anti-Semitism this is from their website, holocaustremembrance.com. And this is them trying to bring us into how they came up with this, because it's so absolutely absurd and ludicrous. They can't just drop you off in this pool. They have to tiptoe you into it. Read the full text of IHRA's non-legally binding as of yet. If they had their choice, obviously they would want it to be legally binding. And when we listen to Trump, you'll hear him definitely push for it. A working definition. This is just all verbiage. In the spirit of the Stockholm Declaration that states, with humanity, we should look up the Stockholm Declaration. Just drop that in there. I bet you it says some other really fucked up stuff. That has to do with the UN, who Israel totally ignores all the time. Or we use our veto power. With humanity still scarred by ... anti-Semitism and xenophobia. Xenophobic. The state of Israel, it's a Jewish state. America isn't a white state. And why do we say state and not country? We don't talk about Israel as a country. It's the state of Israel. The international community shares a solemn responsibility to fight those evils. The Committee on Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial. Not buying their whole story about 6 million in every detail of the World War II event. It's not academic. We're not allowed to study it and come out with a different number or circumstance or situation or a detail that doesn't match whatever they say. People in other countries are getting locked up for it already. Germany, the ones who they conquered. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which we can't even say the word Jew on here. How fucked up is this? A certain perception. So they're here to guide our perceptions. And you're not allowed to have a certain perception. Especially one that expresses hatred towards Jews. I don't hate Jewish people. Those people who are critical of Judaism. I'm critical more of Judaism as a religion, but that definition also goes into the rest of the social milieu and psychology on the individual status. So I do not hate Jews, and I bet lots of other people who do this similar work don't hate Jews either. I love Jews. I've got Jews that are friends of mine who I converse with constructively, some who are anti-Israel. I have many friends. I'm not going to agree 100% with what everybody else thinks. None of us do. And this is how they talk to us like that's not true. They treat us like that. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed toward Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property toward Jewish communities, institutions, and religious facilities. That's why it's important that I think we have a religion thing, because we get protected some way. But then when you sign up for the government, they make you like for a tax exempt status to be recognized as a religious institution. They make you put in a list of all the members' names and give you minutes, and then you're caught up in their whole system. So one part why I would want to make the religion legit is to give it some legitimacy in the eye of the public. But you don't need any of that if you have numbers. And I'd rather not get tied up with the government, obviously. But it does give you some protection, perhaps. I don't know. To guide IHRA in its work, the following examples may serve as illustrations. Manifestations might include the targeting of the state of Israel. That's anti-Semitic. You see what they're doing? Criticism of Israel similar to that leveled against any other country cannot be regarded as anti-Semitic. But that's what they do, a bunch of what ifs. Well, what about them? Well, what about that genocide going on over there? What about that war? How come y'all don't care about the Yemenis right now who are starving, that's a big fault of ours as well and theirs. Anti-Semitism frequently charges Jews with conspiring to harm humanity. We're not saying all the Jews, but there are some rabbis who teach about the wiping out of Amalek, a large portion of the world's population, literally. What we try to do with Aquarian is spiritualize it and say this is Amalek, if somebody comes from that tradition, that for them to interpret Amalek as the evil inclination within themselves, in their own psyche. And using Egypt as a metaphor for coming out of an unhealthy lifestyle. But still, because it uses the word Egypt, it gets literalized and put into actual history, and people think of it that way. Don't blame Jews for, quote, why things go wrong. This is actually really hilarious, because what they do is they the tropes they bring to the light. So they're troping themselves. Don't have any sinister stereotype employed. Don't have any bad person in a movie be a Jewish, outright Jewish person from Israel, in Israel. You'll never see that. And don't you dare imply that they own Hollywood. Oh, let's go to Trump. Nobody's watching me. Come on, give Lily a little watch.
Semitic attack. This evil anti-Semitic attack is an assault on all of us. It's an assault on humanity. It will require all of us working together to extract the hateful poison of anti-Semitism from our world. This was an anti-Semitic attack at its worst. The scourge of anti-Semitism cannot be ignored, cannot be tolerated, and it cannot be allowed to continue. We can't allow it to continue. It must be confronted and condemned everywhere.
It rears its ugly head.
Its very ugly head.
They say that all the time.
We must stand with our Jewish brothers and sisters to defeat anti-Semitism and vanquish the forces of hate. That's what it is.
We don't hate them.
Through the centuries,
I don't.
the Jews have endured terrible persecution, and you know that. We've all read it. We've studied it. They've gone through a lot. And those seeking their
Can I
destruction,
have a water, please?
we will seek their destruction. And when you have crimes like this, whether it's this one or another one on another group, we have to bring back the death penalty. They have to pay the ultimate price.
Is he talking about the protesters on campus? What the heck?
They have to pay the ultimate price. They can't do this. They can't do this to our country. We must draw a line in the sand and say very strongly, never again.
Another Shoah is always around the corner because in every generation, Esau and Edom rises and a new Amalek is out to get you. That's why I feel sympathy and I feel bad for Jewish people who grow up with this mentality. Paranoia, schizophrenia, the cause of many neuroses. Contemporary examples of anti-Semitism in public life, the media, schools. What about just private anti-Semitism? How do they feel about that? They could include, but aren't not limited to. Now, here's the tropes that they line up, which are just hilarious. All right, the first one is obviously no calling for violence. These words are so loaded. Calling for or aiding or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of a radical ideology or an extremist view of religion. The terms radical and extremist are very subjective. Just in war, when somebody's trying to kill you, you are justified in killing them. These words are going to get me in trouble on YouTube. We can't even say that word, can we? And we're at war! Especially with the white people, the European, the target is over our heads. They're wiping us out through open borders, through an influx of immigrants, through the propaganda on the media with mixed couples. What if somebody loves somebody from a different race or whatever? I don't care. Go and marry. But when it's intentionally being pushed upon us, well, that's something that I think we could stand up for and call out, hopefully. Do not make any mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations. Don't say that Jewish people are tight with their money, frugal. This is ridiculous. Don't ever talk about or make allegations about Jews having power as a collective. What the fuck? Don't say that Jewish people own the majority of real estate in New York. Don't say that Jewish people are often lawyers. It's like, don't say, let's say this is white people. Don't say that white people enjoy hiking. Especially, but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy. It's written in their scriptures. They're given direction to rule the world. That's what they get away with a lot of things because it's a race and a religion, or it's a race or a religion. It's both. You'll find even the secular one still believes that if not God chose them, nature chose them to be superior and should rule. Emergency coming out. Don't talk about Jews controlling the media, the economy, government, or other societal institutions. All right, and it just goes on and on. You can't deny that there were gas chambers. So what if we want to hire investigators to go, and historians and statisticians? We can't do any of that. Don't accuse them of inventing or exaggerating about the event. Don't accuse them of being more loyal to Israel than to the country that they're in, their host country. Which reminds me of the guy who sat, wore his IDF uniform into like Congress. Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Here is some history, because you know what? In the West, in my schooling, we did not get much history about global affairs. Let's listen to this.
750,000 people.
Of course, war is horrible, so why did the Palestinians initiate this war with their vicious attack on Israelis on October 7th?
Well, they didn't. What do you mean they didn't? They didn't. This war has been going on for 75 years. Israel initiated it in 1948 by ethnically cleansing 750,000 people. We must expel Arabs. Get out of here. We must expel Arabs and take their places. We must expel Arabs and take their places. And if we have to use force, not to dispossess the Arabs of the Negev and Transjordan, but to guarantee our own right to settle in those places, then we have force at our disposal. David Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister of Israel, said that in 1937. And that's what they proceeded to do. The people in Gaza, this is what you need to understand. The people in Gaza, over 80% of them are refugees. Many of them are from a place called Majdal Asqalon in what is now southern Israel, in a city called Ashkelon. And they were dragged from their homes and driven from their homes, placed in prison camps, barbed wire prison camps, and then dumped in trucks in 1950 into the Gaza Strip, where they would be permanently warehoused. And then Israel proceeded to move Arab, Jewish refugees and Russians into Ashkelon to prevent them from ever coming back, and pass laws to prevent Arabs, Palestinians from being able to return to their homes. 750,000 were ethnically cleansed. For 18 years, the remaining Palestinians, 100,000, were internally displaced inside Israel. The remaining were put under military rule. They were under military occupation until 1966. Then in 1967, Israel violently, in a war it initiated, occupies Gaza, occupies the West Bank, occupies the Sinai Peninsula, the Golan Heights in East Jerusalem, and then invades Lebanon in 1982, attacking Palestinian refugees there, puts Gaza under siege in 2005. No one can get in or out without Israeli military permission. We must kill and kill all day, every day. That's according to Arnon Sofer, an Israeli government consultant who helped devise the siege of Gaza. For years, Israel would not allow certain chocolates and A2 paper into Gaza. And then they began these brutal military assaults, which they call mowing the lawn. Slaughtering a few people will leave Hamas intact, but teach them a lesson. And I talked to you about those assaults that took place on Gaza. So this didn't come out of a vacuum. You're not going to be able to hold people under siege, to cut them off from the world, and then expect them to just play along. And that doesn't mean that I celebrate what happened on October 7th. It should have never had to happen. The reason it happened is because of the Israel lobby here, the genocide Democrats and the genocide Republicans who deny the Palestinians any right to have rights. And it's the right to have rights that defines you as a citizen. They're citizens of nothing. And now we see what Israel really thinks of them, really thinks of their children. Gaza has become a graveyard for children, according to UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. So this didn't start on October 7th, and it's not going to end when there's a ceasefire.
There you go. That's great. I wish I could memorize that. Here is this our foreign the member of, I think it was our Congress, dressed up in yeah, they just passed a bill making it illegal to accuse Jewish Congressman Brian Mast of dual loyalty to Israel. Here he wore an Israeli uniform to Congress. Don't you dare imply that he has dual loyalty, because that is breaking the anti-Semitic law, which soon will be punishable by death if Donald Trump has his way. Biden smears Japan as xenophobic for not embracing immigration. Look at a video on how beautiful Japan is. They might be onto something. Japan, beautiful, clean, friendly.
What do you think is the biggest difference between Japanese people and American people?
Probably literally the personalities and the niceness. Like, that's literally the one thing that separates Japanese people probably from anywhere in the world, honestly. Like, everyone's just so nice, like, really nice.
Being nice, being polite, being kind, it's all different, right?
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful place. I think we should take care of our borders, and immigration should be done in a way that is responsible, not just flooding all of these immigrants in and getting flyers to vote for one side, the left, obviously, over the other. This one was interesting. Rebecca Weiner. Weiner. Probably from the tribe. The Columbia crackdown was led by a university professor doubling as NYPD spook. She was like Jump Street 22, 21. Where she went in as a professor, not even qualified. I wonder what the hell she was teaching. And she was an undercover police officer who is combating these pro-Palestinian occasions on campuses. Probably Jewish. Wiener, pretty Jewish name. Funny enough. Rebecca is too. Here, leading Gaza surgeon dies in Israeli prison. A surgeon. What's he doing in a prison? He's not a military warrior, soldier. He died. He was being held for more than 4 months. And they say it's part of a systematic targeting of healthcare workers. What in the actual fuck is going on? Nobody in the stream? Come on, guys. Somebody give me a like, a heart, a funny face. Maybe the sound sucks. Maybe I just suck. But we keep on keeping on. Cat! You give my lighter, please? Here is 9/11.
Square, New York, Nassau County. My name is Christopher Joya, and I'm a fire commissioner with the Franklin Square Munson Fire District in the town of Franklin Square, New York, Nassau County, which is near the Queens border. On the morning of September 11, 2001, I was working on the Brooklyn side of the East River, just north of the Williamsburg Bridge, and had a spectacular view of Manhattan and the Twin Towers. Having been an eyewitness to the attacks that day, and from being called to duty to assist the Fire Department of New York in the following days and weeks afterwards, 9/11 has never been far from my thoughts, having been burned forever into my soul. The 9/11 Commission concluded that Osama bin Laden and a group of Islamic extremists were responsible and carried out the attacks. And that was to be the end of it. Truth be told, that is far from the end of it. The 9/11 Commission was flawed, and in the words of two of its own, the chairman and the vice chairman of the 9/11 Commission, respectively, Thomas Keane and Lee Hamilton, who stated in their book, without precedent, that they were set up to fail and were starved of funds to do a proper investigation. That's their own words. They also confirmed that they were denied access to the truth and misled by senior officials in the Pentagon and the Federal Aviation Authority, and that this obstruction and deception led them to contemplate slapping officials with criminal charges. The final report did not examine key evidence and neglected serious anomalies in the various accounts of what happened. The commissioners themselves admit their report was incomplete and flawed, and that many questions about the terror attacks remain unanswered. Nevertheless, the 9/11 Commission was swiftly closed down on August 21st, 2004. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, pilots for 9/11 Truth, and the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, to name a few, raised valid and important questions that were never even considered, let alone answered, by the official investigation. The bottom line here is that the American public has not been told the complete truth about the events of that fateful autumn morning 18 years ago. What happened on 9/11 is fundamentally important, but equally important is the way the 9/11 cover-up signifies an absence of democratic, transparent, and accountable government. Establishing the truth is, in part, about restoring honesty and trust and confidence in the American political system. That is why, on July 24th of this year, the Franklin Square Munson Fire District voted unanimously to adopt a legal resolution of support for the special federal grand jury investigation before the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. The almost 3,000 innocent people who were murdered right before our eyes that day cannot speak. So it is left up to us to speak for them and demand that their voices be heard in a court of law with subpoena power and an impartial jury to consider all of the evidence by placing 9/11 under a microscope and investigating everything and anything down to the smallest of details.
Like the dancing Israelis, the one caught in a van with explosives, the art school project, the ownership of the buildings, insurance policy, the calls that went out to warn people on a certain application or text messaging service. The Prime Minister being in the newsroom at BBC when this happened. The World Trade Tower 7 falling when, and Silverstein, when asked about it, said that he told them to pull it. The occult symbolism behind it, the date of it. The towers were owned by the Solomon brothers. It's related to the Solomon's temple ritual, the destruction of the temple ritual. Masonry involved, together with the CIA and the Mossad, which are pretty much synonymous. Same ones who took out JFK, very likely. Almost definitely. Because of him wanting to crack down on secret societies, but mainly the nuclear plant of Israel that was not supposed to have nuclear weapons. They even staged a whole fake lab facility to give a tour to the visitors from America and other places to check on it. The USS Liberty, the bombing of the King David Hotel. This is a country that was built on terrorism and continues in it today, perfecting it even, and psychological warfare, and blackmail, and manipulation, and paying off our politicians, our Congress, AIPAC, and then through religion, through Hagee, through Islam, through Masonry. Look at this guy. Don't hit me with your flag, bro.
Dude, don't hit me with your fucking... Dude, don't hit me with your fucking flag. Dude, don't hit me with your fucking flag. Dude, don't hit me with your fucking flag. False accusations, hit me with that flag again and see what happens. Do not hit me with...
A bunch of... Hit me with that flag again, and you saw what you just did. And he said, do it again and see what happens. Bunch of Arab older women.
That flag. Shame on you in front of children.
I take the video. I take the video.
Check the video.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, we did, buddy. We sure enough did. Columbia, though, gets an L of the university for getting tear gas rained in and rubber bullets. That's what happened on my campus in Florida. Brother Nathaniel has been a good spokesperson for white people. Go figure, a Jew who converted to Orthodox Christianity, so still a Jew. Zionism is Judaism. Christianity, Islam, Masonry, and Satanism. They're all Zionists. Even Rastafarianism add in there. Unto Mount Zion. If it wasn't for... Because they're all Abrahamic. Look at... So, we have UCLA, the Palestinian protesters, peacefully protesting camps and chanting. And then we have a group of 200 pro-Zionist, pro-Israeli a mob, come in and let full reign on the encampment. Listen to this announcer that's Normie being awakened to that situation.
Any response from any... Somebody is being dragged and beaten in the front of that plywood wall. Just incredible. Where are the police? Where is security? Where are these people? Just where is authority here?
There's the
It is something.
that a yellow flag right there has a crown on it, and it's the flag for Moshiach, which is the Jewish Savior Messiah, who will come to usher in the destruction of Edom, Rome, Europe, the destruction of the construction of the third temple. And what else has to happen? I think the red heifer or something.
I have never
Oh, Israel returns to its homeland. Check.
covered with.
And they want their traditional, whatever the Bible told them, from the river to the sea. From the river to the sea is the Israeli motto. And they're doing it. They're not just chanting and yelling at a building. They're actually doing it in real time.
Without any sign of enforcement, law enforcement, security whatsoever. This has gone now on for over an hour and a half, and it is absolutely appalling in my estimation.
An hour and a half of this gang of Israelis, probably a bunch of Mossad agents too. And or their new go-to is Christian Zionists, like Nick Fuentes' types. Hopefully Nick Fuentes could actually reach out to those Christians on college campus doing pro-Israel stuff. That would be a good thing to come out of this, actually. But this and
That we have not seen any response. I've just never seen it. You know, this may be a sign of things to come, or this may be what, you know.
that's how things are. Shabbat is trending. A very happy Shabbos Eve to you. Make sure to get your Shabbos goys. Give them a shiny, clipped penny. Oh, here it is. Here it is up close.
No place in this world. Fuck you.
No place for you in this world. Dude just by himself on the outside of the thing. They're hitting him with fucking sticks.
Fuck you. Why are you out here by yourself? Hey, stop!
Doc, no police anywhere. The police showed up in their war gear. And other places, and they were there too, but just for that moment, for that hour and a half, none of them came to that situation. We got Russell Brand converting to Christianity, getting baptized, doing the Christ grift. That'll get him more watchers, more subs. He's got this guru. I think maybe, I don't want to be judgmental, but he seems to have this guru type I'm the savior mentality, persona. Maybe not. Maybe so. Here's that, my alma mater.
We will be utilizing chemical munitions if you choose to stay.
That's DeSantis' Florida. They had there's just a group of people who gathered together and tried to bring in one tent, and they got tear gas pumped on them and rubber bullets sprayed. Okay, I was just talking about what needs to happen for the Jewish Messiah to come. Conquer the land of Israel, which is Palestine. Rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. and get rid of their enemies.
ברמב"ם כתוב
The Rambam, Maimonides.
איך יודעים מי המשיח? אם הוא יהיה מלך והוא יכבוש את כל ארץ ישראל, יקים את בית המקדש ויחריט את זרעו של עמלק. זה שלושת המרכיבים.
For their Messiah to arrive, they need to conquer the land of Israel, which is Palestine, rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and genocide their enemies, which is clearly what they are trying to do.
No lies detected.
Estimates put us at 8% of the white people are a
This guy, Real Energy, put this together as good.
worldwide minority. Some estimates put us at 8% of the world's population. We could be less. We need to understand that we are endangered, as there is a very real risk we will cease to exist in a short time, unless there is a major course correction. America was almost 9.
I grew up thinking that like white people were like 60% of the world. Try 16%.
White people are a worldwide minority. Some estimates put us at 8% of the world's population.
I'm sorry, half of that, 8%. 8% left of Edom is left. Compared to that number, what's the percentage of Jewish people in the world? 2%? That's not that far away from 8%.
We could be less.
I think it's less than that, but 2% in America, I guess.
Understand that we are endangered, as there is a very real risk we will cease to exist in a short time, unless there is a major course correction. America was almost 90%.
My sister asked if I was sounding white supremac. I told her I'm not a white supremacist. I said I just see the target over the head of white people for annihilation. And she said, who cares? That's what her education, college education, and media has brought her to the point of not caring about her own people getting vanquished.
White in 1960. White people have been ethnically cleansed from most Western cities that their ancestors built. As of 2012, white people were a minority in at least 50 metropolitan areas in the U.S. Columbus, Ohio is the only majority white city.
Columbus, Ohio, here I come. Ohio, Columbus.
In the top 15 most populated American cities. By 2018, white students made up only 48% of the enrollment in U.S. public schools. Similar trends are happening across Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and anywhere white people have called home. Indigenous Brits are only a little bit more than 1/3 of the population in London, their capital city. Even when white people are a minority, we will never get any of the minority protections and privileges granted to non-whites, whose worldwide population numbers dwarf our own. This is all by design. The anti-white diversity agenda involves government-sponsored discrimination against white people in the form of affirmative action and diversity quotas, which require employers to give preference to less qualified non-whites. With fewer opportunities, white people are able to make less money and are now having much smaller families. The anti-white agenda also says there can be no white countries anywhere, and there can be no white areas within those countries. Mass invasion, forced assimilation, race-mixing propaganda, and demonizing white people as inherently evils destroying us. This is genocide. It's easy to prove, according to the UN's definition. However, the UN is never going to do anything about it. They're complicit in the conspiracy, like our governments. We can't bring them to trial, yet, so we must prove them to be guilty in the court of public opinion. Speak out against white genocide. Do whatever you can to bring this crime to light. White people are...
How about that? They're wiping out Amalek. They're tearing down Edom, which is America. Why? Because it's Christian. Thanks. The reason why the Arabs don't like America is because of our funding of Israel. Divest. Sanction. cut all ties with that terrorist state. And my friends, that will do it for It's Getting Late. I haven't done a Wake movement video for a while. We're going to start doing them more. Got